Did you know that while the world is distracted by political speeches and international sanctions, a young African leader is secretly reshaping his nation with construction projects that could change the future of the continent? Imagine roads cutting across deserts, solar farms stretching further than the eye can see, and high-tech hubs training the next generation of engineers. All in a country many still underestimate. This isn't Dubai. This isn't Beijing. This is Burkina Faso. And the man behind it is Ibrahim Traoré. Ibrahim Traoré is not just the world's youngest head of state. He's fast becoming known as a visionary. In less than 3 years, he's begun laying down the foundations for what some experts are calling Africa's most ambitious transformation project. His name echoes in debates about politics, security, and sovereignty. But behind the headlines, there are hidden mega-projects, some already under construction, others quietly being prepared, that could completely rewrite Burkina Faso's story. Today, we're going to uncover 10 of them. But before we dive into these secretive projects, we need to understand the challenges that Traoré is up against, because they are enormous. Burkina Faso is landlocked. That means every single import, whether it's machinery, fuel, or food, must come through neighboring countries. This makes trade slow, expensive, and often dependent on foreign powers. Add to that decades of underinvestment in infrastructure, frequent droughts, and a history of political instability, and you have a country that many outsiders would simply write off. Another challenge is sustainability. The world is shifting. Fossil fuels are becoming politically expensive. Climate change is hammering the Sahel region. Urbanization is putting pressure on already fragile cities. Most leaders would say the problems are too big, the risks too high. But Traoré? He's going the opposite way. Instead of backing down, he's accelerating into the storm. And his projects are designed to do one thing: make Burkina Faso independent, self-reliant, and respected. Let's start with something that may not sound glamorous: roads. But in a landlocked country like Burkina Faso, roads are the veins of the nation. They decide whether farmers can sell their produce, whether goods can reach markets, and whether soldiers can move quickly to defend remote areas. Traoré knows this. Under his leadership, there's been a quiet but aggressive expansion of highways and rural road networks. Some of these projects are so under the radar that even locals don't know who is financing them. But here's the secret. Many are directly linked to Traoré's push for independence. One of the boldest plans? A Trans-Sahel highway that would connect Burkina Faso to Mali and Niger, designed not just for trade, but also for defense. Imagine trucks loaded with goods, buses filled with students, and military convoys all using the same new roads. This isn't just asphalt. This is sovereignty, paved mile by mile. But roads are only the beginning. The real crown jewel of transportation? Railways. Traoré is quietly working on a project to revive and expand Burkina Faso's railway connections. Right now, there's only one major rail line linking Ouagadougou to Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. That means Burkina Faso depends heavily on its southern neighbor's port for access to the outside world. Traoré wants to change that. Plans are already being drafted to expand railway lines toward Ghana and possibly Togo. Even more ambitious, discussions with Mali and Niger about creating a shared rail corridor that bypasses French-controlled trade routes. If completed, this could be a game-changer. Cheaper exports, faster imports, and a symbol of African nations breaking free from colonial-era infrastructure systems. Imagine a Burkinabe-made train carrying goods directly to a friendly African port without asking Paris for permission. That's the vision. Next, let's talk about energy. Burkina Faso is blessed with one of the most powerful resources in the world: the sun. For years, this potential went untapped. But Traoré is investing in solar power megafields across the Sahel. These aren't your typical rooftop panels. We're talking about hundreds of hectares of solar arrays, silently converting sunlight into electricity. enough to power entire towns. One hidden project near Ziniare is already rumored to be in advanced stages. When completed, it could reduce Burkina Faso's dependence on imported electricity from neighbors like Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana. Imagine what that means: schools with uninterrupted power, hospitals with reliable electricity for surgeries, factories running day and night. It's not just energy independence, it's the foundation of industrialization. And Traoré knows industrialization is the only way to create jobs for the millions of young Burkinabe entering the workforce every year. Burkina Faso is rich, not in cash but in gold. It's one of Africa's top producers of gold, and yet for decades most of it was exported raw, refined overseas, and sold back at many times the price. That's like having a farm but letting someone else eat the harvest. Traoré has decided enough is enough. Hidden in plain sight are new gold and mineral refinery projects. The idea? Process Burkina Faso's wealth at home. Keep the profits inside the country. Create local jobs instead of exporting opportunity. For every ton of gold ore exported raw, Burkina Faso earns only a fraction of its real value. With refineries, the country can suddenly boost its revenue, strengthen its currency, and even build reserves for national projects. This isn't just about gold. It's about copper, manganese, and other minerals waiting to be processed locally. In the long run, these plants could make Burkina Faso a financial hub in West Africa, not by begging for aid, but by refining its own wealth. While solar gets most of the spotlight, Traoré hasn't forgotten water. Across Burkina Faso, small to medium hydropower dams are being planned in rural areas. These aren't massive structures like China's Three Gorges Dam. Instead, they're practical local projects, dams that provide both electricity and irrigation water. A two-in-one solution. Picture a small village that once depended on diesel generators, suddenly powered by a steady flow of electricity from a nearby dam. Farmers who once prayed for rain now using controlled irrigation channels to grow crops year-round. That's transformative. And because these projects are smaller in scale, they can be built faster, with less dependence on foreign contractors. This approach shows Traoré's style: smart, targeted development rather than flashy megaprojects designed only for headlines. Now, let's step into a more secretive project: defense. Burkina Faso has long depended on foreign powers for weapons, ammunition, and even basic equipment. That dependence is dangerous. What if those suppliers cut you off? What if they use aid as leverage? Traoré has quietly greenlit the development of a military-industrial zone. Here, factories are being established to produce small arms, ammunition, and even armored vehicles locally. Some insiders suggest technical partnerships with non-Western countries are already underway. For the first time, Burkina Faso's army could fight with weapons made on its own soil. And that's not just symbolism. It's security. It's independence. It's sending a message. Burkina Faso will no longer rent its sovereignty. And then, there's the sky. Rumors are circulating that Burkina Faso is developing a modest satellite and drone program. Why? Because in the 21st century, control of the skies means control of the battlefield. Drones for surveillance, satellites for communication, and maybe even crop monitoring for agriculture. It may sound ambitious for a small country, but with the right partnerships, it's possible. Traoré understands this isn't about building rockets in Ouagadougou. It's about training engineers, building data centers, and creating systems that let Burkina Faso rely on its own eyes in the sky, not borrowed ones. Imagine border patrols guided by drones, farmers using satellite data to know when to plant, and soldiers coordinating with live intelligence. That's the kind of futuristic leap Traoré envisions. Food. Without it, no nation survives. Burkina Faso's agriculture has always depended on rainfall, but the rains are becoming less predictable. Enter Traoré's hidden irrigation projects. Quietly, networks of canals and pumping systems are being built to feed water into modern farming zones. These zones aren't traditional farms. They're designed with advanced irrigation, storage facilities, and sometimes even renewable-powered greenhouses. The goal? Food independence. No more reliance on imported wheat or overpriced foreign fertilizers. Burkina Faso can feed itself, and with modern zones producing a surplus, it can even export to neighbors. This is a silent revolution, and perhaps one of the most important projects of all. Connected to that is another hidden project: fertilizer and agro-processing plants. For decades, African farmers have been forced to buy expensive imported fertilizer, often controlled by multinational companies. Traoré wants to cut out the middleman. Plans are underway to produce fertilizer domestically, tailored to Burkinabe soil conditions. Alongside that, processing plants for cotton, grains, and fruits are being developed. Instead of exporting raw cotton and buying back expensive fabrics, Burkina Faso could spin and weave its own textiles. Instead of shipping raw corn, it could produce flour, cereals, and animal feed. Each step adds value. Each step creates jobs. Each step weakens foreign control over the economy. And each step strengthens Burkina Faso's sovereignty. Finally, let's talk about what may be Traoré's most visionary project: tech and education hubs. Imagine campuses where young Burkinabe learn coding, engineering, artificial intelligence, and drone technology. Places where students design apps that solve local problems, rather than waiting for Silicon Valley to notice them. These hubs aren't just schools, they're factories of talent. Traoré knows buildings alone won't change a nation. People will. That's why investment in human capital is at the center of his hidden projects. From training centers for renewable energy technicians to partnerships with universities abroad, the plan is clear: empower the youth, and the youth will build the nation. If this succeeds, Burkina Faso won't just be consuming technology, it will be creating it. And that's the true marker of a developed nation. Now, out of all these projects, which one is the boldest? Which one shows Traoré's vision the clearest? Many would point to the railways or the gold refineries, but perhaps the most daring is the National Technology and Education Hub. Why? Because it's about changing mindsets, not just skylines. Think about it. You can build roads, you can build dams, you can even build factories, but unless you build people, unless you train the minds that will maintain and expand those projects, the development won't last. Traoré seems to understand this deeply. He's investing not just in steel and concrete, but in brains, in ideas, in the next generation of Africans who won't wait for handouts or imported solutions. Imagine a Burkina Faso where drones are designed locally, where AI-powered apps manage agriculture, where students export software instead of raw minerals. That's not just catching up with the world, that's leapfrogging it. This is the heart of Traoré's hidden mega-projects. They're not about looking flashy today. They're about planting seeds for tomorrow. Seeds of independence, seeds of sovereignty, seeds of pride. So let's take a step back and see the bigger picture. 10 hidden mega-projects. Roads and railways tying the country together. Solar farms and dams powering the future. Gold refineries keeping wealth at home. Fertilizer plants feeding farmers. Military industries guarding sovereignty. And education hubs creating innovators. Piece by piece, these projects form a puzzle, a vision of a Burkina Faso that stands tall, proud, and independent. For decades, the story of Africa was written by outsiders, colonial powers, international corporations, global institutions. But today, under leaders like Ibrahim Traoré, a new story is being written. One that says, we will build our own future, we will construct our own independence, and the world will have no choice but to take notice. Now the question is, which of these projects do you think could transform not just Burkina Faso, but all of Africa? Is it the railways, the solar farms, or the education hubs? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one of them, and if you want to dive even deeper into other mega constructions changing the world, make sure to check out my previous video, linked right here. Don't forget to subscribe for more eye-opening stories from Africa and beyond. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed.